With this, he sucker punched me in the face as I was walking away.
Wait, right before that, he got out of the car. How long is he out of the car before something happens?
A second.
This is the plaintiff, Wendy Ellers. She says the defendant is a lowlife who sucker punched her in the parking lot after she told him he was taking up 2 spots. The guy's a criminal with 30 incidents on his rap sheet, and she's here suing him for the $5,000 she is surely owed. This is the defendant, Joseph Rossi. He says the crazy plaintiff attacked him as he was sitting in his car, and he defended himself and slapped her to get her off of him. When he left, the plaintiff attacked his car, damaging it. And if she thinks he's paying her all this money, she's crazier than he thought. He's accused of causing bodily harm. The defendant has filed a countersuit for $5,000 for car damage and harassment.
All parties, please raise your right hand.
What you are about to witness is real. The participants are not actors. They are actual litigants with a case pending in civil court. Both parties have agreed to drop their claims and have their cases settled here before Judge Marilyn Milian in our forum, the People's Court.
People's Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Marilyn Milian is now presiding. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
Ms. Ellers, you were at your neighborhood marina. What's the marina? What city is this in?
That's in Patchogue, Long Island.
Okay, and what happened?
I was with my 5-month-old puppy. I was socializing him. There was no spots available. The place was completely packed. And as I was walking, I noticed that Rossi, I will not call him Mr. Rossi, was parked in 2 spots.
What do you mean by parked in
open.
2 spots? He was straddling him so that he has more parking space room, you mean?
Correct. It was in the middle of
Okay.
2 spots, meaning it right in the middle, taking up 2 spots.
Okay.
I was approaching the bench. He had his window open. He was smoking pot. I said to him, you couldn't have made it easier for someone else to park? It would have been nice. Just like that. With that, cursing, screaming, yelling, telling me that he owned the place and he'll do whatever the F he wants. He called me a fat, ugly bee. Actually, what happened was he blew the smoke in my face. And I said to him, nice. I said, time for the police. And as I said that, he gets out of his car and he started screaming obscenities at me, cursing at me. I said to him, I'm going to call the police. And with this, and there he is shaking his head. Sorry.
Don't
I said I was going to call.
just testify and don't do facial gestures, Mr. Rossi. Go ahead. That's all right. Go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
apologize. With this, he sucker punched me in the face as I was walking away.
Wait, right before that, he got out of the car. How long is he out of the car before something happens?
A second. I was turning my head. I'm deaf in my left ear. And as I was moving, I said, this is a police matter, about to call the police. And he said to me, get away from me. And as I'm walking, get away from me or I'm going to punch you in your fat face. And I said, you would actually hit a woman? And with that, boom, right in my face.
Okay. And then what happened?
I landed on his vehicle. And he ended up backing up. I had my puppy, and I was screaming for someone to help me. And he just continued to go. He backed up, and as he was backing up, he tried to run me over. And,
Okay, so the police get there, and do the police do the police write a police report?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, this is your statement. Were there any witnesses to this? Because there had to have been witnesses.
There was, and she is afraid
Okay.
because she saw what he did to me.
All right, so did an ambulance take you away?
An ambulance did take me away, yes.
Okay. How long were you in the hospital?
I was there for the afternoon.
Okay. And what did they do?
They took a bunch of x-rays, and that was pretty much about it.
Do you have any
Told me to
pictures
follow
of
up
the
with my
injuries?
primary. I submitted everything to you, Your Honor.
Okay, give me 1 second. I am looking at some pretty severe injuries to your thigh. How did that happen?
Correct. That was from when he was dragging me with a vehicle. He ended up backing up.
But how does he drag you with the vehicle? That's the part I don't understand. How are you trying to hold on to the vehicle?
I was, because if I didn't, I would have fallen. That's in the hospital.
Did that turn black and blue?
It did not.
What happened, Mr. Rossi?
Well, Your Honor, I was sitting in a LDOC parking lot, and as this lady, Wendy, knows, I'm there every day. Every day, same spot, same 2 spots. The reason why I parked in 2 spots is because people were crabbing at the time. And when they crabbed, they walked through between the cars with long crab poles and nets, and the kids are running. So, and between that, my loud music, they give me dirty looks when they park next to me, people. So I take up 2 spots in the car.
Well, we all want to take 2 spots, but you don't get to take 2 spots, particularly when they're crowded. Go ahead. So go on.
Well, I could assure that the time of day that we were there, the place is less than half packed. So I'm sitting in my car and I'm smoking a blunt, okay? And I have the windows up, okay? And all of a sudden, I see this lady walking across the parking lot. She walks in front of my car, comes to the driver's side, and, Your Honor, starts screaming at me at the top of her lungs. Okay? So I kind of, I'm smoking, I'm laughing it off. The worst thing I know I did was roll the window down. So once I rolled the window down, she smelled the pot. And now with her ranting that she's doing about me in 2 spots.
What is she saying? What is she? Yeah, tell me exactly what she's saying.
I can't remember exactly, but I could tell you a roundabout. She was saying, like, I shouldn't take up 2 spots. Who the heck do I think I am? You're probably not even a resident. I know she said that to me. So,
okay,
I'm sitting
so
in the
what
car.
happens?
She is screaming, screaming, screaming. She's got this dog with her, okay, on a chain. So I turn around and I says, why don't you back up, you fat, smelly. I mean, I'm not going to lie. That's exactly what I said. I should have never rolled my window down. I know where my mistakes are. And
well, how about just you should have never said that. You should have never rolled your window down. You should
I know.
Put away the blunt and call the police. There's lots of things you could have done. But anyway, go ahead.
This is why I shouldn't have been smoking pot, because pot makes me a little bit more hyper. But yet I'm sitting in my own car, in my thoughts, minding my business. And what she did next was step forward, and she starts hitting me in my chest.
She hits you with what? Which hand does she hit you with?
With her backhand, her right hand. She's hitting me in the chest. She's coming forward to get a better swing. She's hitting me in the chest with her backhand. And I see the chain for the dog, and I know she's up against my car, which I'm worried about her scratching the car with the chain and her hitting me. I decide to open the door and get out. Here's my second mistake. I know my mistakes. Okay? So I got out of the car, and as I'm getting out of the car, she's still hitting me. So I slapped her. I slapped her right across her face.
With open hand, closed hand, what?
Open hand, Your Honor. Your Honor, I only got one on today, but I wear these big monster rings, and I usually have 2 on this hand, but I left it in my brother's car last week. And I should have never did this. And let me tell you, I don't feel good about saying on national TV that I smacked a woman across her face. But this woman was hitting me and assaulting me, and I just had open heart surgery. 2018.
I'm sorry to hear that. Let me just ask you something, though. You're in your car, and you have the keys to the car, and you can drive away, put away the blunt, and call the police. Are you sure she wasn't making you angry, so you got out of the car to whack her because you felt like it was well-deserved?
She was making me angry because she was hitting me in my chest. What am I supposed to do? I'm just telling. Listen, I know the truth is ugly. It's easy for her.
So am I right? Am I right that you were angry and you got out and you whacked her because she was whacking at you?
Yes.
Right. So when you got out of the car, was that the first thing you did?
The first thing I did was slap her across her face.
What happened after you slapped her?
So I jump in my car and I pull out. Now, I don't have to back up. I'm already backed in the 2 spots up against the curb. All I got to do is pull forward and go out. So her saying something about me backing up.
What
See?
happens as you're driving out?
This lady is running towards the car. She's running. And she hits the quarter panel of the car with her hand. Hits it. Bam. What am I going to do?
Does she damage it?
I didn't know at that time, but yes, she did.
Do you
if
have
that
a
was
picture
man,
of the damage to your quarter panel?
I didn't. I tried to take a picture, but it's such a small circle dent that you can't, like it's not even scratched to dent. So you can't really see it in the photo.
Okay, so go on. What else does she do?
And then she does this mad search for me, Your Honor. And I'll tell you the reason why I don't call the cops. Because the cops and I don't work out good for us. What was I supposed to do? Call the cops and say some lady screaming at me? Oh, and by the way, when you get here, I got no license. Listen, I'm going to be honest with you. Okay, I'm not going to sit here and blow smoke. I'm not going to swear and then tell a bunch of lies.
So at the time you didn't have a license?
No.
Okay, so what happens after all of this? Did you go out and get an order of protection from him?
I did. Yes, I did.
Okay. You say that you're afraid, but I'll be honest with you. You strike me as a woman who's really, really angry and wants to get her pound of flesh, because what ends up happening is you end up getting into this. You find his criminal record. You find out that he's trying to get a driver's license reinstated in Florida. And then you write to the judge in Florida telling him everything that happened. In fact, you didn't just write to the judge in Florida and tell the judge that.
I wrote to the ADA. Okay. I wrote to the governor.
You wrote to the governor's office and told the governor's office that you would hold the state of Florida responsible if he ends up getting. Okay.
That is correct.
And you have a witness in the room with you. Who is the witness who's in the room with you who you want to have testify?
That is his ex-wife, who he abused, physically assaulted, and this is his.
You have his ex-wife in the room with you.
I do. I reached out to her as well. Okay.
Let me hear from his ex-wife. Go ahead, Douglas, please.
Yes, ma'am. You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Your Honor.
What's your name, ma'am?
My name is Nora Rossi.
And why are you here?
Wendy reached out to me. Initially, I didn't want to respond to her because I was nervous because I have an acting restraining order against him for abuse. And after I saw her pictures and I saw I heard the story of what he had done to her, I just felt obligated to help her out in any way I could.
How long were you married to him?
7 months.
Okay. Go ahead and please switch and put Ms. Ellers back. Mr. Rossi, did Ms. Ellers ever actually reach out to you directly?
There's a witness. She produces a witness, and I don't even get to respond for all these accusations that my ex-wife just said about me.
Okay, you know what? You're right. Let's hear that first. Let me hear your response to what your ex-wife said first. Go ahead.
My ex-wife told a lie to you because when I got arrested for domestic, it was for sending a text message to her from Texas. I know that. She knows that. Why she would make this up right now for this lady, Wendy, I have no clue. But the bottom line is, I have never put my hands on my wife, ever. Because had I put my hands on my wife, she would have had me arrested. I wasn't arrested in New York for touching her. I was arrested for sending her a text message while I was in Texas at my daughter's house.
How do you get arrested for sending a text message?
Because it was a threatening text message. She had sent me a text message of her and her new boyfriend telling me how he would destroy me. And I actually have proof of that with color portraits that I printed out for the court when we were getting divorced and going through this injunction.
Okay. All right, let's try to get back on track. Mr. Rossi, did Ms. Ellers ever actually reach out to you directly?
Yes.
How?
So at 5 o'clock on October 20th, I get a text message, which I submitted. Then I get a second text message, and I wrote, "Who is this?" Because I didn't know who. I got the phone number, but I didn't know who it was. Like if I had known that.
You really are a sick. Don't send me anything ever again. If you do, you're going to jail, you ugly, fat piece of blank. Who sent who this?
That's her sending it to me.
To which he responds, "Who the is this?" But what is she talking about? Because she says, don't send
I
me
don't
anything
know.
ever again. What had he sent you?
I don't know.
Well, Ms. Ellers, what had he sent you?
I received an extra small lingerie, disgusting, very distasteful. I haven't been an extra small since I was a teen, and it was addressed to my last name.
Okay, you're guessing that it was him who sent it?
I know it was him.
Because you guessed that it's him, because you know
I
in your
handed
heart,
this-
you then
Well-
actually reach out to him and send him a text, so now he has your,
I was
home,
absolutely,
your cell phone number?
I was absolutely disgusted at that point. I had learned.
But
everything
why
about
would
him.
you reach out to him and then now he
I
has
was
your
wrong.
cell phone number?
I was 100.
I mean, it's nuts.
Wrong. You're right.
Okay, so I am going to take a short recess, so just stay where you are. Court is in recess. During the recess, I spoke to the witness who could not come to court today. Let me show you a few things. Apparently, Ms. Ellers, this is you right in his car. She couldn't believe how in his grill you were. Whatever she saw you doing in that car was enough for her to say, get away from the car, just walk away. Then she sees, when he's driving away, that you are chasing after the car,
Like I said,
which is pretty nutty. Now, it may be like you said, Mr. Rossi, but it is not self-defense to get out of a car, come up to somebody and smack him because they had it coming.
because she was punching me in my
I
chest.
was not punching him.
I need you to stop talking, Ms. Ellers. You've done enough.
Sorry.
You are putting yourself in such danger, I can't even begin to tell you.
You're right.
You are finding out about somebody having this kind of criminal background, and then you just
right.
push. Like, your obsession is an unhealthy obsession. It's unhealthy.
right.
And if I were you, I would worry about you and getting to a healthy place mentally. I would.
You're right.
Okay? Because
You're
that
right.
is infinitely more important than this. When I look at the picture, it is not a picture of a punch. It is a picture of a slap. When I look at the horrible injury on your thigh, it is consistent with what the witness says you were doing, which is running afterwards and trying to grab the car. It is nutty. It is nutty. But you know what it doesn't do, Mr. Rossi? It doesn't in
What's
any
that,
way,
Your Honor?
shape, or form justify you getting out of a car and slapping her. Now, is it the
I
punch that
admit
she
that.
describes? No, it's not
I
the
said
punch that you
that.
describe.
I
And
said
would it
that in the
account
beginning, Your
for the
Honor.
injuries? Stop talking. And would it account for the injuries on your leg? No, that's infinitely more consistent with chasing the car, okay? But is it worth something? Yes, it's worth something in a court of law because people don't get to get out of the car and smack you because they're sick of you. They don't get to do that, okay? They don't get to do that, Mr. Rossi, okay? Ms. Ellers, let me just say a few things. I don't know if you hit him, but I know you were up in his grill over the fact that he is a jerk who was taking 2 parking spaces and you didn't like it. And I do not recommend that kind of contact with someone. I don't care what they're wearing or how they look. It was a terrible idea. Yeah, but see, here's the thing. You didn't just have that contact that day. When you say never again, I don't believe you for a second. You're obsessed with this because your behavior since then has been the kind of behavior. I was a homicide prosecutor for years, and this is the kind of stuff you do not want to do. And you're hearing about how violent he is, and then you're turning around and texting him and giving him your own phone number. You need to take a breath
You're
and
correct.
take a beat here.
100%.
Of all the things that I've heard and seen in this case, I'm not sure that anything can paint a picture better than this picture of what it looked
And
like
that's the
that
2
day.
old ladies that I was telling
And-
you about that I'm glad
And
they had taken
this picture
pictures.
where you are right there, you're not talking to him and saying, hey, you're a jerk, don't take up 2 spaces. You are right inside the car. I don't know if you were hitting him, but boy, you are just right inside that car.
Your Honor, I haven't lied about anything.
But even if you had hit him, that would justify him rolling up, calling the cops, getting law enforcement involved. It doesn't justify getting out of the car because that's not self-defense, that's anger. You don't have a right to get your last licks in. That's not self-defense. I am finding in your favor, Ms. Ellers, but not in the amount that you are asking. I'm ruling in your favor in the amount of $500 on the counterclaim because there's no evidence of damage to the car, 0.
Mr. Rossi, there's a lot of testimony. We can't go over all of this, but let me ask you a question. Are you surprised at all, and in any way embarrassed by all the information that has come out here on national television?
No, I'm not embarrassed because I told the truth. I smacked the woman that was punching me in the chest. I'm not going to be embarrassed about that, and I'll do it again. But that lady right there, she just lied on national TV, brought my wife in it, brought my family in it, and she made $500.
And now turning to Ms. Ellers, the plaintiff, who the judge awarded a $500 judgment to, not $5,000, which she was seeking. Let me ask you, number one, are you in any way embarrassed by all the testimony that has come out in this case?
I am not. I will do whatever it takes to make sure that the guy never drives again. He has hurt too many people. He's a danger to society. And again, I did nothing wrong. Nothing. Especially not hit him. Absolutely not.
You say you did nothing wrong, but this case changed dramatically when that photograph of you right up next to his car with your arm in the car actually.
I was telling him to put the weed out, that there were kids there. It was disgusting. That was what I was saying to him.
Well, that was quite a case. Let's see what the judges have to say about this one.
Wow, I don't even know where to start here.
I can't imagine that she learned anything.
You pointed out that you thought there was craziness on both sides here, and the defendant, Mr. Rossi, sitting in the car, he was kind of doing a lot of stuff he probably shouldn't have been doing.
Yeah.
Not the worst things in the world, but stuff he probably shouldn't have been doing there. And then, of course, she comes upon him and has to get right in his face.
That's right.
I have to tell you, though, I'm really old school, and I believe that there's never a justifiable moment to punch or hit a woman in the face, unless maybe it's Ronda Rousey, MMA fighter who I'm
she'd
tangling
whoop
with.
you.
Well,
Ronda would Ronda would clean the floor with you.
If it were Ronda, I would submit.
Yes, yeah, I know you would.
So Bella in New York wants to know this. Hey, Harvey, is a signed notarized note just as acceptable in court as a witness if they cannot attend? Well, here's the thing. In small claims court, there is an exception. They do allow these notarized statements, and a judge can consider it, though discount it, if the person isn't present because there's no cross-examination. Notarized statements like that in bigger courts where a lot more is at stake, they are not admissible. That will do it for this case. Litigants for the next case inside the courtroom.
This is the plaintiff, Schaumburg Colin. He says the defendant, an old friend, tackled him after they had a difference of opinion on the state of affairs in this country. His lip got cut, his face got scratched up, and his tooth was broken in the melee. He's suing the defendant for $6,266.50 for medical, dental, ambulance costs, and a busted bike. This is the defendant, Rudy. He says the plaintiff was acting belligerent because he was drunk, so he told him to go home. Next morning, the plaintiff said he was beaten up and that he punched him and busted his lip. This is crazy because he did no such thing. He's accused of being a real bruiser.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket. The plaintiff says his old friend tackled him and then smashed his face into the ground during an argument. But the defendant says the plaintiff was drunk and belligerent and fell down. It's the case of what a bruiser.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
Okay, Mr. Collin, how is it that you know Mr. Rudy?
I know him from a while back, actually, 5th or 6th grade, I believe.
All right, so have you been friends that whole time?
We've been friends, but it's mostly like on the phone, over WhatsApp. We'll send text messages and stuff, but not physically seeing each other, no.
Okay. So at some point, mid-COVID, Mr. Rudy decides to have a 4th of July party. What time of the day or night was it?
This was around maybe 2 o'clock, 2:30.
Okay. And when does the problem happen between you and Mr. Rudy? Like 8 hours later?
Around
10 hours later?
Yeah, around like 1 in the morning. About 1 in the morning.
Wow, that is a long barbecue. What are you guys doing for 10 or 11 hours at a party? That better be one banging party. I don't understand. Like what? That's a lot of drinking.
He had a good time too. I get to the barbecue and there was nothing happening. So I'm like, oh, let me grab my Dominoes so I could bring it back so we could at least have something to do.
Domino's. Isn't anybody worried about COVID? Where are you guys from? New York. You're from the Bronx. No one's worried about COVID. You're passing Domino's around. You're talking to a Cuban. All I ever did my whole life with my mom is play Domino's, and I can't play Domino's now with my mom. Oh my gosh. All right, so go on.
I came back, we sat down, and then he went and offered Corona. Well, I'm literally nursing the Corona for like maybe 3-4 hours. Then they went and got some Hennessy. They got the Hennessy.
You know, like people do at a 4th of July party in the heat. All right, when things got heated, it's now what time when things get heated?
It's around 11 o'clock, I would say, about 11:15.
And what happened?
It was like the whole social injustice happening in the country, the whole Breonna Taylor and the Black Lives Matter movement. And he said, Black Lives Matter to who? And I was like, to everybody. It should matter to everybody. Like, apparently, Black lives don't matter to anybody because I'm like, Black on Black lives is not a thing. It's just a narrative that people pull out there. You know what I mean? People kill people all the time. Like, Italian kills Italian, Russian kills Russian, Chinese kills Chinese. Nobody says anything about Chinese on Chinese crime. I'm like, it's just a narrative to have you believe that, you know, we out here just the only race killing each other, and that's not the case. So from that conversation, it kind of stemmed from the whole upbringing and how Black folks in this country doesn't necessarily take the initiative to make sure that they put their kids in a situation where when they grow, they're in a better standpoint financially to elevate. So we started talking about, we think mostly about flashy cars, jewelries, name brand clothes, and all that other stuff.
Who was saying that? Were you saying that, or were they saying that?
No, I was
part
saying
about
all
flashy.
those things.
Okay, I got it.
Me,
all right,
I was
go
saying
on.
all. And for some reason, I think Rudy think maybe I'm saying all this stuff because of him, which I would never do because I don't really know his lifestyle.
So
Outside of that, I
he didn't
really
like
see
what
him
you were
too.
saying, and what did he tell you? What did he say to you?
He was like, yo, cut this because all I see on TV is black on black crime. How can you say that? So I went on Google and showed him the stats about how 82% of black crimes that happen to other from another white person that kills them. But nobody ever comes out and says, oh, it's white on white crime. But it's not the narrative.
How does it get
black on black
physical?
crime.
How does this discussion, which is a very legitimate discussion among, you know, a group of friends who've known each other since all of us were boys, like everybody's friends since 6th grade. How does that turn into what it ended up turning into? Do you know, or was everybody just drinking too hard at that point?
I'm not sure. I think he might have been drinking too hard, honestly. It got physical. He was like, he was like, get out of here, man. Just go ahead and leave. I'm like, I'm outside. Like, I'm not in your house anyway. I'm on the public sidewalk. I'm outside. What do you mean get out of here? He's like, anyway, it's about to be over anyway. We're about to leave. And he's saying bye. He comes around, like he's coming to say bye to me, and went for my leg, tackled my legs. So when he tackled my legs, he continued with the force, and I was able to turn and smash my face into the floor. So when I smashed my face into the floor, I got up, and I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, I got really furious. Like, at this point, I'm just, like, livid. I'm ready, like, to really, like, do something to this man. And as I'm looking at him, like, what the hell is wrong with you? Like that, he pulled out his pocket knife. So when he pulled out the pocket knife, I'm like, oh, he got a knife? You gonna pull out a knife on me? So I ran across the street. At this point, there was an African lady sitting on her stoop with 2 other kids just playing. And they was like, your face. I'm like, what happened to my face? She was like, your face is bleeding. It's really bad. I'm like, nah, it's okay. I'm going home. She's like, nah, you need an ambulance. It's really bad. So she was able to call the ambulance for me. The ambulance came. By the time the ambulance came, I got in there. The guy was like, yeah, you're going to need stitches. You're going to need this and that. Prior to me leaving in the ambulance, I went back to grab the bike. When I got there to get the bike is trashed up completely and tossed near the garbage.
So did you ever see him bash the bike to the floor, or you didn't even see that?
No, I saw it. Yeah, when I ran across the street, I can see him doing all that stuff. I could definitely see him, but I'm focusing on getting the ambulance, getting the right address. Ambulance finally came. By the time the ambulance came, everybody like vacated the area. So we backed up slowly. I grabbed the bike, and he helped me put the bike in the ambulance.
And that was a really nice ambulance, EMT. Let me ask you a question. Did you end up getting stitches? Where did you get the stitches?
I got the stitches inside of my lip, and then the laceration on the side. They just put like some what was that called? It's like an ointment.
Some ointment.
She put on there.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
She was like, don't cover it right away because it needs to breathe a little bit. So when I got home, I was able to put a Band-Aid on there.
Okay, let me hear from you, Mr. Rudy. What is it that happened here? How did this get so out of hand?
Well, from what he's saying, something got out of hand. From my perspective, nothing got out of hand. The thing about him is that no issue. I invited him to a party, but He's known to go to parties, with my brother's parties, being invited. He goes to every party they invite him to, basically. And he's not a person who could hold his alcohol. He knows that. My brother knows that. So I invited him to a barbecue. He came around
Let's
4
fast
o'clock.
forward from 2 o'clock to 11 o'clock. Tell me
Right,
what
fast
happens
forward
at
to
11
nighttime.
o'clock when the discussion about social justice comes up. Tell me what happened there.
Right. There was no real talk about social justice conversation. It was him being belligerent and drunk at that time of the night.
What was he saying?
First of all,
what was he saying?
All he was saying is basically like, well, unlike certain groups of people, I tend to invest in myself, my children. Like, I have a $3 million life insurance policy. He was just saying things that's personally good for him. But everybody that's around the party around 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, midnight, the barbecue finished at 10 p.m. There's no more food. So he stayed throughout the 11 o'clock, 12 midnight to 1:30 in the morning arguing and stuff. All I ever did was left this man. I already hosted you at a party. I did as much as I could do for you. I walk away.
I'm sorry, Mr. Rudy, what are you saying? Are you saying that you were never tussling with him?
The next day, we having arguments. I am not talking.
So you never got physical?
We have an argument. I never got physical with him. I just left.
And you never took his bicycle and bashed it against the ground?
No, I did not bash any bicycle. Me and him was having arguments.
I'm sorry, Mr. Rudy, I'm going to ask both of you to hold on one second because apparently we have a witness. It's a witness for Mr. Collin. Douglas, could you please swear in the witness?
Absolutely. Can I get you to raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
I swear to tell the truth.
Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Hi, sir. All right, what's your name?
Herbie Brazil.
All right. Were you present at the party on the 4th of July?
Yes, I was present at the party.
All right. And did you see some kind of confrontation between Mr. Collin and Mr. Rudy?
Yes, definitely there was a confrontation there.
What happened?
It started off normal conversation of back and forth conversation.
What were they arguing about?
It was more like Mr. Collins was saying a lot of fact things about investing, how to invest for your kids. Then to a certain extent, I think Mr. Rudy probably took it the wrong way.
Thought he was being condescending?
Yes, correct.
Right.
Then from there, the situation escalated. You know, then we started with the.
And what happened? I need you to tell me what you saw happen. Tell me, what happened with the bike? Let's start with that.
As with the bike, as Mr. Woody got more aggravated, then he just took the bike and tossed it on the floor numerous times. And from there, then that's how I know when the situation was really real. So I kind of trying to calm the scene down, but it still wouldn't. I still wasn't able to calm the scene down.
What else happened? What else happened between the two of them?
Then they end up tossing on the floor.
Wait, I'm sorry. Who tossed who on the floor?
They both mangled each other. They both grab each other. So they end up tossing on the floor. Then Mr. Collins end up left. I think it was the left side of his face end up hitting the floor. Then he had a big scratch on his right. I'm not exactly remembering for sure if it was the right side of his forehead.
How did Mr. Collin get the cut on his face? How did Mr. Collin get hurt? In the middle of their tussling with each other?
Yeah, the floor is concrete. So I think as it's tossing each other, then Mr. Rudy kind of flipped them on the side of his face.
All right. I appreciate you coming in and telling us what you know. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Rudy, why did your friend Herbie say that you took his bicycle and bashed it against the ground? And he was trying to be even-handed. He was like, I don't know who started the physical. I don't really know. But it's kind of hard not to mention who threw the bike. So why would your friend, your guest Herbie...
I never met him.
I thought he was in school with you since junior high, too.
No, I haven't met this guy in like 20 plus years. The story of us growing up in junior high school, that was years ago in the 90s. We don't hang out throughout the year like that. So
so you've never met Herbie or you went to junior high with him?
I met Herbie throughout junior high, not that day.
All right. So now explain to me how this happened and has nothing to do with you.
I said I'm arguing with him. I never touched this man. If I did, why would he not get me arrested and locked up for what I've done to him?
Well, but just because that's what you would do, and I understand that, but I'm telling you, you know right now, because you spoke to other people who were there, so you know what happened. You know what happened.
Yeah, I know what happened. We got drunk.
Yeah, he was acting like a jerk, and you didn't like it, and then you had a fight.
I did not have a fight with him.
Your Honor, the whole time, the situation where I didn't call the cops or anything, I was trying to rectify the whole situation with his brother.
I know you were. I know you were. I don't need to hear anything from anybody else anymore. We can stop. I know that you were trying to rectify the situation. I know that you've known each other since you were tiny little children. I know that friendships are very fragile. I know that you love Fritz. This guy may not be your best friend, but Fritz is a really, really good friend of yours. I know that you were trying to avoid this route. I know that your face looks like somebody bashed it right into the cement. I know that. I can see everything that happened. I know that your bike went into the ambulance. I've seen the records of what happened at the hospital that night. I've seen the bills that you're getting because of it. And so the only question I have to ask myself is, did this guy make you angry enough for you to knock him to the ground and then pin him down and cause all this damage? This may not have been what you intended, but I believe this is what happened. I believe the witness, and I believe the plaintiff, and I believe this is what happened. And I believe that the reason he didn't want you arrested is because you're Fritz's brother, and he didn't want that kind of bad blood, okay? But there's a cost to this stuff. Who's gonna eat all this? Who? The only thing you haven't been able to prove to me is that the bike is a total loss. I am not gonna award you the cost of the bike. So I'm deducting that from your claim. And as far as your medical bills, which I have seen, and your dental bills, which I have seen, the stitches you ended up getting, I'm gonna rule in your favor and against the defendant in the amount of $4,966.50.
So the judge really does believe that the plaintiff is responsible and awards the plaintiff just under $5,000. Not bad. Let's see what Rudy, the defendant, has to say about this. Rudy?
I have nothing to say.
Really? Nothing at all?
I have nothing to say. Thank you.
Okay, we'll let it go at that. All right, Colin, you got a lot from the judge, which I assume you're pretty happy about, right? Especially all the medical stuff.
Yeah, I definitely didn't want to have to pay for those. Absolutely not. But I honestly didn't want the situation to go as far as it did. Like, I tried everything possible to rectify the situation without going to court, without making a big mess of it. But he just kept with the threats, he kept with the gangster talk, and I'm like, you know what? I don't want to go to jail, so I'm just gonna file a civil court suit and just have it handled this way. And so I'm definitely happy with the outcome.
All right, let's see how the judges feel about this.
4th of July parties in the Bronx can be kind of a rough and tumble affair, apparently, huh?
Yeah.
Who knew?
And during COVID, this is like, you know.
He had a witness who was pretty compelling. The guy who was there that night, he's known both of them for a while.
Yeah, he was trying very hard not to be involved.
He was a very uncomfortable witness. He didn't want to be here. He didn't want to be testifying about this. I'm sure he felt like he was, involved in something between childhood friends that he'd rather not participate in. Right. But his story was consistent with the plaintiff's story.
It was and it had the ring of truth that you're having a political discussion about something, about social justice, and one person doesn't like what the other person's saying. He doesn't like that he's saying it at his party, and then he just knocks him down.
Okay, Sonia wants to know this. Hey, Harvey. How can I get my birth certificate unsealed if both my adopted parents are dead? You know, I've never actually heard anybody who wanted to do that, but it's interesting. I think what you could do, obviously, is go to court. Sometimes there are specific judges who handle things like this, but I would go to the clerk's office and I would ask the clerk, what courtroom do I go to? A judge can make that order, and then the clerk would unseal the birth certificate. It's a process, and you don't need a lawyer, but that's how you can do it. See you next time.